And welcome to episode 19 of Mediocre Military Modeling. And today we have a classic plastic model kit here. Now I don't have the box for it, unfortunately, anymore. It got thrown away. But this is the classic Hobby Lobby. You can find them at pretty much any Hobby Lobby. This is the Monogram M48A2. And yeah, usually you can find this kit for super cheap. This kit has been out for quite some time. I think I even want to say this kit came out in the 50s originally, and it's pretty much the same mold. So it's a very simple kit. It's a good kit for beginners, but there's not a lot of detail here. But overall, you know, if you put a little work into it, you can make it into a half-decent kit. Very quick and easy to put together. But yes, this is the M48, one of the early Cold War main battle tanks. I think this came out in the late 50s, served in Vietnam, served all the way up into the 80s when it got put into National Guard duty, but this is a classic Cold War tank. So this is the A2 version of it. So this is an earlier version, and I've sort of tried to make mine here look like something maybe from the early 60s, very late 50s. I did do a video earlier with my M48A3, and we'll compare those in a minute, but that's different on a few levels. It's a later version of this tank, and also it's a Tamiya kit, and that's still an old kit, but much more detail than this guy here. So yeah, I'm actually pretty proud of this tank and this build. I think I did actually pretty good with this one. Overall, just a simple olive drab with some highlighting. Just added some yellow into the paint, and I did some chipping actually. Put some mud on here, as you can see around it. Very kind of light weathering, nothing like super heavy. But yeah, I think it turned out pretty nice, to be honest. Now, I didn't use the decals that came in that kit. They're kind of goofy. Well, at least I think I used some of them, but there's a lot of weird, like, graffiti, hippie stuff, like flower power and stuff like that. And kind of like for some kind of like Vietnam Kelly's Heroes sort of build. Like, here comes the judge. It's fun, but it's not like super serious or super realistic, although obviously they did put a lot of graffiti on these tanks, especially during like Vietnam. But I just went with simple stars and like US Army, and you can see some of these stars. I tried to do some chipping on them, so let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. So a little bit of wear on this tank. So a couple things to know about this kit. First of all, it's a little bit weird. It's actually not 1/35th scale. I forget exactly what it is, but it's a little bit bigger. Very slightly bigger than 1/35th. Again, remember, this kit came out a long time ago when maybe the standards weren't set in stone. Another thing is up here on the mantlet. So where the machine gun is and the viewport, they're actually swapped. They're on the wrong side. And what I did actually is I took a X-Acto knife and I carefully kind of cut them off and then swapped them. So right now they're in the correct positions. So you've got the machine gun on the right where it should be. But when you originally get this kit and put it together, they're swapped. They're on the incorrect side. So if you want to put in a little bit more work, it's not too hard to just kind of saw them off and then swap them, and you'll get a little bit more accurate looking tank. You can see here the little top commander's cupola, I think, with the machine gun in there. And yeah, a lot of these parts are like kind of like molded on. I tried to do this jerry can a little slightly different color than the rest of the tank. But like the tools, in later kits you might get these as separate, but here on this kit, this is all molded on. The extra spare like track pieces, I'll show you in a minute, but those are all sort of molded on. So yeah, if we take a look here up the top, these little spare track pieces are definitely just kind of molded on, and then like the tools here, in like more sophisticated kits, these might be separate, pieces. But here they're just all molded on. And like the, I can't think of the name. But anyways, when you turn around, this like holds the turret in place. Usually that's a separate piece. On this kit, it's molded on. But as you can see, I tried to do some weathering. I tried to do some variations with the color. I originally laid down a dark coat of olive drab, and then I said I lightened up another, and I sprayed some parts here to make it a little bit lighter, like it's got some fading or sun wear. A little bit of chipping, a lot of mud splatter. I think it looks pretty good. Like I said, I'm pretty proud of this kit for what it is. Now let me take a minute here. Let's compare it with the Tamiya kit that I did a few episodes ago. Alright, so here it is next to the Tamiya kit. So here's the Monogram, and here's the Tamiya kit. Now, this is an M48A3, M48A2. Little differences. This one's more from like the Vietnam era, and this one is a little bit like pre-Vietnam. So I did do a little bit more with this tank. Like I added like duffel bags and like baggage and stuff that I didn't do too much here. I just put some jerry cans in there. But overall, yeah, this one is just a lot more detailed. You have the searchlight on this one. Again, these are like separate pieces. I actually moved the gun, or put the gun on the top here. That was very common in Vietnam, rather than keeping it in there. They like to do that for increased, enhanced visibility, although at the cost of some protection. But as you can see here, like this piece, it's a separate piece. Here it's molded in, and I don't think there's tool, but separate. Just a lot of sort of like separate pieces, whereas on this older kit it's just all molded in. You also notice this kit is slightly smaller. Like this one is a little bit longer, and that's because of the scale difference with this earlier Monogram kit. It's very minor. You'd be kind of hard pressed to tell at a glance. This one also sits lower, and I actually think that's more correct, I believe. This one's a little bit taller. Again, I don't know how easy it is to see that here, but yeah, this one is a little bit squatter than this one. So I think that's about it as far as showing the differences between these two. Obviously, this green is a little bit different. This is a U.S. Marines, whereas I did this one as the Army, so they use slightly different shades of. They use slightly different shades of green. Alright, so that is the Monogram M48A2. I did my best for this on this old kit to try to make it look half decent, and I actually think I did a pretty good job. Not to toot my own horn there, but yeah, I actually kind of really like this build and how it came out. Now, overall, should you pick up this build or this kit? I mean, that depends. If you're brand new, it's a good choice. Like the Walker Bulldog, it can be found at Hobby Lobby, like any Hobby Lobby, for really cheap. And if they're doing their like 50% off sale, you might be able to get it for like $10-ish, give or take. Probably a little bit more now, maybe with inflation, I don't know. But this thing can be found cheap, very beginner friendly, like even more beginner friendly than the Walker Bulldog from Tamiya, just because it's so simple and a lot of the parts are molded in. Now, if you're looking for a challenge, or even if you have a couple models under your belt, this is going to be too simplistic for you, unless you get some joy, kind of like how I did with like taking a really simple kit and then seeing what you could do with it. It's the kind of the best you can do here. Then it might be worth it. But like I said, great for beginners. But if you're not a beginner, I don't know if I would bother with this kit. There's so many more kits out there that cover this tank that are so much better detailed. Now, I don't know about the early versions. I see a lot of kits for the M48A3 and the M48A5, but M48 like A1 and A2, yeah, I don't know what your options are out there if you want to go with the really early versions. Although I don't think there's too much difference between the A2 and the A3, so you could probably back convert an A3 maybe. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, that's what I think about this kit. Now, how do I think I did on it? So we have 3 ratings here. We have a artistically inclined 5th grader could do better. We got that good old college try, and certified mediocre. Now, I'm trying. My skill has gotten a little bit better over the past year. So I might have to mess around with the scale a little bit more. I might have to be a little bit more critical of myself from this point on. And I really want to give this kit a certified mediocre because, in my opinion, I think it looks really good. But it is kind of simple. I mean, it's monochrome. The weathering's okay, but I don't know if it's fantastic. I did, I like how the chipping kind of turned out on the decals and even around the hatches up top. But I'm going to be harsh on myself here. And I'm just going to I'm going to give this a rating for my work on this as that good old college try. I'm going to be a little harsher on myself here. I could have gave this a certified mediocre, but we're just going to give it a good old college try. So that's this tank. That's the Monogram M48A2. I know I haven't put out a video in a while. It's been a kind of a crazy last year, but I have done a lot of models during the past year. So we've got a lot of episodes kind of in the breach headed your way. So thanks for sticking with the channel, and thanks for watching, and there'll be more videos in the future.